All right, I have to show this off. This is super cool. So using this Kurtosis project, which apparently is the project that's used by a lot of client teams to be able to test integration with the consensus client and the execution client, I have a full Ethereum stack running locally using this Kurtosis. And it's really, really simple to configure. So we have a full, you can inspect this, and this shows you all of the different components that we're running here. You can even run a full Explorer on this. I tried to run the beacon chain one. That wasn't really working too well. But there's a lightweight one called Dora. So you can visually see in this Dora the Explorer the actual chain popping off just like you would on Beacon Chain's website. And right now we're on Epoch 1. And I have validators running against this right now. I have a consensus client, and I have a execution client, and I have a validator client, all running locally. So we can look at the different services here. So, like for example, let's take a look at the validator client service, and you can see that we have our validators pumping right here locally. And this is super easy to configure by just overriding configuration parameters here. So here's a super basic configuration that I'm using, but there's a ton of other configuration options that we can configure here. Right now, it's a fresh chain, so we're literally on Epoch 1, and it's just going ahead and pumping out. It's essentially an empty chain. So this is not ideal for full cycle testing for things like stVaults just yet, because we would have to deploy all the dapps that we want to interact with ourselves. But this does give us the capability to be able to run a validator client and a consensus client and connect that to an execution client that is forked off of main chain. So as long as we point the deposit contract to the right spot, we should be able to test stVaults with deposits into the deposit contract and have those deposits get picked up in the validator client, and we can experiment with all these different validator configurations so we can see how we can configure our stack as a node operator, but then also develop our applications as a dapp developer on the front end for things like creating vaults and depositing into vaults and testing the whole cycle. And most importantly, what we really want to do now is interact with Aave, right? So we want to be able to have Aave available to us. So this is a great step in the right direction to be able to do that. I think the next step of this is to look at how to do shadow forks, or how to connect to a Anvil main chain fork so that we can get access to all the dapps we need, such as stVaults and the actual Aave. We're probably gonna, as I'm saying this, we're probably gonna have to do a custom deploy someplace, because we need to fork. We still need to fork Hoodie for stVaults, and then we still need to fork Sepolia for Aave. So we kind of have two chains we need to interact with. That still may actually be a problem now that I think about it. But or maybe we can figure out how to deploy one of those ourselves. Aave may be somewhat simple to deploy for just a basic single pool, But all right, I'm not going to make this too long. I just wanted to go ahead and capture that. Got this working. This was pretty easy to configure. There was a couple little nuances, but it's all good. Full running stack. I've been thinking about this for a long time. It's definitely possible. It's pretty cool.